All right, so I have my laundry here, and what is your name?
Theodora.
Theodora.
Yes.
So yeah, this is the place right here, so White Point Laundry, and you were just telling me the word for the coins. Can you say again?
Stuchinki.
Stuchinki. So it cost 16 leva and 20 stuchinki.
Stuchinki.
New
yes.
word for me. And so that leads into something else that I wanted to discuss in this video, which is how to deal with money while traveling. I figure this is a topic that is relevant to any traveler, and I oftentimes get questions on this subject. Is just the general situation strategy of dealing with cash. And then there's a specific reason why I wanted to discuss this issue now, which is that I have an old clip from Saudi Arabia. I was there 6 weeks ago, something like that, maybe 2 months ago. And at the end of my video, in which I rented a car and went exploring out of Jeddah, at the end of that video, then I told a story about a situation I ended up in the Maldives related to currency exchange. Because I got stuck with Maldives money at the airport. I'm not going to retell that story now, but at the end of this video, on the subject of money, then there will be that clip, which will illustrate a potential problem that you can run into when it comes to currency exchange. So the first thing that I'll mention is just the most basic, which is, first of all, you need the local currency. So this is a question that people will sometimes ask who haven't traveled, which is that you can't just go around the world with US dollars and just give it to people at, stores and your hotel and restaurants, etc. necessarily. There could potentially be places that will accept a different currency from the local currency, but basically sort of forget about that, because that is not something that you can rely on when it comes to traveling. You need to get the local currency. Here in Bulgaria, it is the Bulgarian lev, or leva. And so there are different ways that you can get that local currency, and that is what I will talk about first here. Let's get to the other side, and then I'll keep walking and talking. And so one thing that I'll mention here is about traveler's checks. Basically, just forget about them. Traveler's checks are super old school. I don't even know if they still exist. Probably they still do, but I haven't used traveler's checks in 20 years, I think, since my first time to India. And so that is not a good way to manage your money. You have to go into banks, wait in line, etc. So the most basic way to get the local currency is to exchange money. So you have whatever, 300 US dollars with you, and you want the Bulgarian lev. You go into a currency exchange office or a kiosk or a bank, you give them your US dollars, and then they give you back the local money. Now, there are various issues with this. The first is that if you're traveling long term, as I am, if you're traveling for more than just a week or whatever, then you would probably need a whole lot of cash. And you don't want to be traveling around with hundreds and hundreds or perhaps thousands of dollars that could possibly get lost or stolen. And then another major issue that comes into play with exchanging money is the variability of the exchange rates. And that is a huge one that you need to watch out for. I recommend the website xe.com just to get a general idea of the latest fair exchange rates, so that you are armed with the appropriate information for when you're checking currency exchange rates if you are going to go that route. And so you want to look around for the best rate, basically. And so a really bad idea is to exchange your money back in your country before you travel. You're in Chicago. You go to a bank there and exchange your dollars for euros, you're almost certainly going to get a very bad rate. You're also going to get a bad rate at most airports, bus stations, train stations. You never know, it depends on a lot of factors, but basically where there are more tourists, there is more likely to be bad exchange rates. And so just look around, and if nothing else, then the best bet is usually to go to a bank. Although even then it can be quite variable, but often you can get a rate that is closer to the standard rate at a bank. Okay, speaking of banks, ATM machine. And this was going to be my ultimate point of the best way to get the local currency. So I'm going to make use of this and then talk more about it on the other side. Mission accomplished. 500 Bulgarian leva, $250 US or 250 euros. So that was a good ATM machine. No screen asking about the currency exchange scam. I have talked about this in previous videos. It is basically a straight up scam in which the bank or the ATM offers to do the currency exchange for you, and in the process they give you a bad rate and steal your money. So the main thing you want to keep in mind with that, because it is a common thing throughout Europe and elsewhere in the world now, is that you'll get a screen asking you whether you want to be charged in the local currency or your home currency. If you choose your home currency, for example, dollars, you will get ripped off. And it can be a lot. It could be like 50 bucks extra that you'll end up being charged just for withdrawing your money. So watch out for that. Always choose the local currency, either at the ATM machines or if you use your credit card, because this happens with this as well. You use your credit card for a normal payment, and then a screen pops up and says, do you want to be charged in Bulgarian lev or US dollars? Go with Bulgarian lev or whatever the local currency is. And so the ultimate answer to how to deal with money while traveling is what I just did, and that is withdraw money from an ATM machine. Because your bank will make the conversion if you don't fall into the trap of letting the ATM convert the money. Your bank should give you a fair rate that corresponds with xe.com, the rates that are listed there. And so that is just the best, safest, easiest way to get cash, is use an ATM. You don't have to carry a bunch of cash on you. Your money is safe in your bank account. You get a fair rate. It is easy. You walk up to an ATM. Within minutes, you got your money. So the other good thing about that ATM is it didn't charge me a withdrawal fee. So normally, you will be charged a withdrawal fee, like in the US, if you use a ATM that isn't your bank. It can be anywhere from, $3 to $8 or so. It is super variable, and as was the case here, no charge at all. I just got my money for free there, except that my bank will charge me $5 for an international withdrawal. And as people have recommended in comments previously, then if you really want to go the most efficient route, get a Charles Schwab bank account, and they will refund any ATM charges, and they won't charge you at their end. So you won't pay any fees at all for withdrawing your money in a foreign country. And so the last thing that I wanted to mention on the subject of dealing with money is changing currency, in particular at the end of your trip, because that is what this clip that I will be ending this video is about. And so this video clip is filmed in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, at the end of my day of exploring, after I had dropped off my rental car. And so in the video, I mentioned that I'd gotten a new hat. That is the hat that I was wearing in this video. It's now in my backpack, but there was a reason that I ended up buying a new hat, and it actually relates to currency exchange and having money left over at the end of my trip in the Maldives. And so, I know this is a little confusing, but this is me walking through Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, telling a story of what happened at the end of my trip in the Maldives when I got to the airport and had money left that I couldn't exchange. Now, before I get to that clip, I wanted to mention 2 other times that this occurred, which were the next 2 times I was leaving a country right after this, including the next day in Saudi Arabia. Then I ran into an issue because I had Saudi Arabian rial left over. I forget how much now, I think like $100 worth or so. And I made a mistake, which is that I checked in for my flight and then went through customs and security into the main part of the airport, expecting to be able to change the money there. Unfortunately, there was no currency exchange desk inside that area. There was outside that area in the part of the airport where you check in for your flight. And so that is one thing to keep in mind, is that if you have money left over, then change it as soon as you can. As I mentioned, changing in the airport is not necessarily a good thing, but it can be better than holding on to it and having to deal with it later. Let's walk up here to finish off this video. So Plovdiv 2019, European Capital of Culture. And so I go through security and customs and then discover that there is nowhere to change money there. And so I am stuck. I can't go back out. You can't go back through customs back into the country of Saudi Arabia and then do that and then turn around. I mean, maybe you could, but it would not be worth your time. And so what I did in that case is that I held on to the money because I was flying to London. And when I got to London, then I changed the money in the airport. Now, as I mentioned, that is not the way to get the best rate. But in that case, I just wanted to get rid of it and be done with it. I probably could have gotten a better rate if I had gone to a bank in London somewhere, checking the exchange rates for various banks and eventually finding one that had the best rate. But it just wasn't worth my time at that point to put it off and deal with it later and spend who knows how long walking around, waiting in a line, etc. So I just went to the currency exchange desk there in the London airport, Heathrow Airport, and exchanged it, and compared to the fair rate as listed on xe.com, I lost, I forget, I think like 25 or 30 bucks out of $100 or whatever that I had. So lost a chunk, but that is just the way it goes sometimes. And then I ran into yet another problem of the same sort. When I left the United Kingdom, 10 days later after my road trip around the UK, then once again I had British pounds left over. I go to the airport to catch my flight, and that flight was going to Greece, to Kos Island, but the exchange rate at the airport was terrible, and I wasn't in the mood to accept it at that time. And so this time I just held on to it because I had British pounds, and so that is a currency that you can exchange elsewhere. With the clip that I'm going to show at the end here about the situation in the Maldives, you do not want to get stuck with Maldivian currency outside of the Maldives. And so that was the situation that I had there that will be explained further. But with British pounds, then of course you can exchange that anywhere. And so I just held on to it. And then I went to a bank in Greece where I managed to get a much more fair rate than what they were offering at the airport. And I actually saved about $25 by holding on to it and exchanging it later at a bank. And so now I will be showing a clip from the streets of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, talking about my experience getting stuck with Maldivian rupiah at the international airport in the Maldives. So take it easy, more coming from Bulgaria. So I thought that I would really quickly tell the story of the hat, since I mentioned it, why I got the new hat. I'd actually been wanting to get a new hat anyways, but I was kind of forced into it because the Maldives International Airport does not change currency back to US dollars. This was a new one. First time in all of my travels I've run into this. I get to the airport and I have a big chunk of cash, 2020 Maldivian rupiah left, because I'd been doing like the all-inclusive hotel thing and had paid for that in a credit card and didn't spend all the cash that I had on me. And so I had the equivalent of 130 bucks left in the Maldivian money. And I go up to the currency exchange desk, because there is one, and tell them I want to change my rupiah back into US dollars. And they say, do you have your receipt from having changed money here when you arrived? I did not, because I did not change money there. I withdrew money from an ATM. Apparently they will only change rupiah back into US dollars if you changed it there in the first place. And so there was just literally nothing I could do other than having gone to a bank somewhere in the town beforehand, but I didn't have time to leave the airport, go into Male, the capital. So I was just stuck with all this Maldivian money, which is going to be useless anywhere else. I considered, coming here and trying to change it, but that would have been one of those whole nightmare scenarios of like going from this bank to that bank, and the banks are closed in the afternoon probably, and yada yada. And so I decided to just spend it in the airport. And so I bought that hat, I bought this shirt and another shirt, which ended up being really expensive. He said 25 bucks each. And then when I took the two shirts to the cash register, it was actually 64 for some reason, I guess with tax or something. And then I bought a couple other things at a different shop. And when I went to hand them the rupiah, the Maldivian money, I was going to have some change coming back, and they said, is it okay if we give you change in US dollars? And I was like, yes, that is what I need. And then I had some more rupiah left, and so I gave that to them, and they were able to change that as well. So if I'd known that beforehand, I would have went up to the cash registers and asked them, can you change this money? But anyways, it worked out. I got a cool hat and some nice shirts and a couple other things, and got rid of the rupiah. All right, I'm definitely in the right place. I recognize where I am. This building up here is right near where I started my first video of Jeddah, at the restaurant with the family and single signs. So my hotel is just a few blocks away. That's me. All right, that is it for Saudi Arabia. See ya.